So like I said in the last video, our floor's in. Loving it. So now that the floor's done, we're on to our next project. So I'll tell you where we're at and what we're doing. So I'm not a fan of slats, like most people are doing on their round roof, which I understand why they do it. It's easier. But I'm more of a modern person, less of a country person, and slats kind of scream country to me. So anyway, my initial plan was I was going to put this lawn on the ceiling, which is only 1/8 of an inch thick, and this is just up there with like 6 screws. That's why you'll notice it's not flat and nice. But anyway, I'm going to put one layer of Luan on, then I'm going to put my Ceratex on top of it, and then down the center I've got some wood grain plywood that I've purchased that I'm going to just finish clear, natural, and put down the center 4 feet. And I've saved all of my metal radius pieces that came off of the bus. I'm actually going to reinstall them, which will get me back over to the 4 feet area of the center panel. Not quite, I'll have to put a molding down. But that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to paint those a color and put those on. So I bought this material a long time ago because I thought I would get the floor and everything done faster than I did. Came in and started putting it up, and it actually won't bend this radius. I even made a jig. You can see my jig right here. So this jig here has a groove right here for the plywood to go in, so I can put it up under there. Then this radius matches the ceiling. Then I can take my jack right there, put it under the foot right there, and jack it up and push it nice and neatly up. The problem is about 2/3 of the way there, it snaps. Tried it twice, same result. So let me show you how I did this and how it worked. So the best way to bend wood is to steam it. I have done it before. I get a piece of visqueen, make a tube, get some water boiling on a propane burner, and I usually use a vacuum hose and run the steam into the bag and steam the wood. But these are pretty big pieces. They're 4x8 pieces, where the stuff I was doing before was for furniture, a little smaller. So I didn't want to do that. So I thought about how could I soak them and get them wet. So I came up with this. I have this little trailer here, you see. It's a little aluminum trailer I built a year ago. It's my river rafting, goat hauling trailer. Anyway, I put some plastic in it and built my own little swimming pool for Luan. So I found if I soaked it for a couple of hours, it went right up without breaking. So since one piece worked, now I've got the rest of them in here. Well, not the rest of them. This is half of the bus radiuses. And I'll get to that point, and then I'll check back in and show you how it's going. But this is how I'm doing it. All right, so before I tore my floor out, which was where all of my markings were for my layout, I went around and made markings for right here. This is my pocket door sliding area, the 2 panels. Then there's the bathroom area, and then I marked this as my wall panel between my toilet room and my tub. Not my tub, my vanity. So I made all those marks so I knew where everything was. And so when my lovely wife gets back, we're going to flip a line down the center of the bus again, so we have a center reference. Once I get the ceiling on, I will put the center line down the ceiling again, so I'll have that reference. But until then, I need to transfer these lines that are up here back down to the floor. So when I did it before, I could go off of these common areas right here where I could measure over to the line and then go down to the floor and measure over. But you'll notice that when I remodeled and put in the windows now, that one piece is wider, and then I trimmed it up here to meet, and then over on this side it comes down like this, and I had to cut some rust out and put a piece of 2 in the rest of the way down. And so now all of those consistent areas are gone. So I thought about it for a minute, and I decided what I'm going to do is take this piece of plywood, which I know is square, and set it on the floor like that. And then, excuse me for my bumping around there. Anyway, then I'm going to use this board which goes up to this line. I can hold it level along this plywood, and that way I'm making myself a giant framing square. I can transfer all of those lines from that upper wall board down to the floor in a method that's square with the floor. So I'm going to get those transferred over, because as I started doing the ceiling, I realized I have a conduit here. I have a conduit hanging down right here. Well, those have to go into walls because they go down to the switches. And so I need to make sure that I'm getting those in the right spot. So I need to lay that out, and that's where I'm headed. Let's get back at it. So me and Rhonda worked most of the day Saturday, and we were able to get half of the bus ceiling in. So it is working out pretty good. The only thing that is a little different than maybe I'd hoped, maybe you can see here, with the Ceratex behind it, and this is pretty thin because I have to have it thin to bend it. It kind of pulls up and then lets the Ceratex push down, which should be fine because what I'm covering it with, you shouldn't be able to see that at all once I get my panels on there. But just like the bus building life, we ran out of screws, so I underestimated a little ways by how many screws we were going to need. About half. But I am putting in quite a few. I don't want it to fall down ever, and we were able to glue up the first layer to the slats, but the second layer is the Ceratex, so there's no real way to bond the second layer. We will glue the finished piece on, and it will have some trim moldings that'll go down this area somewhere that we can fasten up good. I think we should be good. But anyway, I'm going to find something else to do until my new screws come in. I haven't been able to purchase these screws locally, so I'll have to order them, get them on their way. But until then, back at it. So these are the panels that are going to go down the center. So I'm going to go ahead and get them finished, get a clear coat on them. I just have to lightly sand them first and then get them over there in the paint booth. We'll get them clear coated. I think I have 5 of those that'll go down the center of the bus. So this is what I'm going to be working on today, getting things ready while I'm waiting for new screws to come in. Back at it. Prepping the corners that we're putting back in, getting them ready to paint. So first step is scuff sanding them. And after we get them scuff sanded, we will wipe them down with acetone, clean them all up. And then we're going to prime them with some epoxy primer that is supposed to bond on to these and work. So that's what we're doing, is getting those prepped and ready. This is the dog's job. He just lays there on the floor and gets dirty. I know Rhonda loves acetone.
It's strong.
She loves the smell of it, and she likes what it dries out her hands. So she's using gloves as long as they don't get eaten through. The last pair got eaten through, so we switched to some nitro gloves, hoping they hold up a little better. One panel headed to the primer room. Get back at it.
Look, I wanted to be in it too, honey.
Oh, there you are. Hi, hon. Almost got them sanded. One more to go.
All right.
So this is one of the panels that's going to go on our ceiling of the bus. Right now, Chad is sanding it to put a final coat of varnish on it. Hey Chad, look at the camera.
Hey, polyurethane.
Polyurethane, I said that wrong. Alright, how do I... So this is the wood that is going to go on the ceiling in our bus. Chad is spraying lacquer on it. This is one panel of that wood. we got all of the corner panels painted with the primer coat. Pretty great day.
Haven't been very good about filming the ceiling. We've got most of it up. We've got one more section of the second layer to go up. I'll just catch you up with the things we had a problem with and the things that worked well in our solution. So this second layer gets Ceratex bonded on the bottom. I found that this glue right here, it's a Worth Lewis product, Pro Bond Adhesive, is amazing stuff. And so I'm not gluing the whole thing, I'm just putting some in the corners and then in the middle, just so that it'll stay there and not fight me while I am getting it up. So I'll go ahead and get those bonded on. You just have to let that sit for a few minutes and then stick it on. And then we'll move out to the bus and we'll show you the procedure out there. All right, so here we go. We've got most of the ceiling up. We've been busy doing it, haven't paid much attention to filming, but we're going to go ahead and film the one panel so we can show you what I found worked the best. So here we go. I will tell you, I ordered these special screws, and they're awesome in the fact that they got a big pan flat head on them, but they're terrible because the Phillips bit is so small and shallow
They come off all the time.
that they don't stay in very well. And they always seem to fight you the most
You're gonna have to put one
when you're holding the
on
board
other
out of
corner.
whack.
Well, I'm at the corner by the vent over there, because that little piece,
Okay, but if I put one there, then I can't twist it and fold it away.
it wasn't there till just now.
Like I tell you, these screws are terrible. But I was worried about them pulling through. I didn't just want to use a regular flathead screw. So I got these that have this bigger pan head. But they can be a little bit obnoxious.
Good job, oh, the contraption.
All right, and we kind of get that held up. The last one that I tried, the first one that I tried to push it up by hand, and it didn't work very well. So it took about a half hour, made this jig. So it has a groove along this rail that I put the panel in. This matches the top, and then I have a plate here to push on.
Yeah, you gotta feed that wire through though.
Oh yeah, my wife just reminded me that we have a wire here. We haven't had that on any of the others, so it's not on my mind. This is the speaker wire for the entertainment center. Now it's through there. If I just kind of come to the middle and then get my jig on the bottom of the panel, which can be a little bit of a struggle. There we go. And then once I've got the jig on, there's a screw holding my board from moving right. Oh, never mind, it can't come out. I don't know what that is. And we use these jacks, which are called helping hands. I use them all the time in the cabinet business, and they've been invaluable in a lot of areas of the bus so far. So I definitely recommend them. And then I just put it under this jig, and then I just kind of rock it out so my piece of wood that's on the back doesn't catch the bottom rail.
And it makes it curve into the shape
And you can
of
just
the
jack it
bus.
up like that, and then it sits and holds it up. It's still not perfectly all the way up, as you'll see. I kind of have to force it a little bit here at the last, but it gets it most of the way up. And I can come and push these ends up in.
And his beautiful assistant can hand him everything he needs.
She can't keep these screws from tipping over though.
Here. I thought that was fun. Okay, but don't you have to get that out? You have to
Get
get that out
get one on the drill for me.
I just had to take that out.
Hold this, please.
What the heck did you just make?
All right, now I've got a few screws holding it. Go ahead and take this off. And there we go. Now I've just got to finish snugging down that bottom edge, pushing it up as I go, and then I can have two hands to put the screws in, which makes it much easier.
Would you like me to
Here,
turn it off?
assistant.
I'm just gonna turn it off. Guess not.
So there you go. It's all held up. Now I just have to put a bunch of screws in it. And there we are. Back at it. All right, so I'm excited to tell you that the rough ceiling is done. We got both layers in, got the Ceratex in between, got it all screwed off, ready to go. Now we're ready to move on to the finished panels. We'll kind of bring you up to date, show you what we're doing there. And then of course, like every other bus, I still have to work with these front and rear areas of the ceiling. Instead of putting it in one piece, you know, we're gonna angle in the corner, put two pieces in that corner, and then we'll have to put one piece on each section rather than being able to go all the way across because we have compound angles occurring at this point. So anyway, I'll keep you up to date on that as well for the rear and the front. But the main part of the bus has a ceiling. So excited. Back at it. So here's an update. Sorry we haven't put in a ton of videos. I know I showed you one putting on our side panels that we got painted. Now we have all of the middle up. Hopefully you can see that. I am very happy with it. To me it looks absolutely amazing. So this is a 1/4 inch hickory panel. Oh, see, we won't film it that way because you don't really see much. But, and then the hickory comes along and butts into our panels that we took down and painted. This area right here, once I get the walls in, I'm not going to run this all the way, it'll go wall to wall. I'm going to make a molding here because on this side there will be a dado that has an LED dimmable strip light in it that shines down onto the metal, and the other side will just go over far enough to cover those screws. So we'll get that made and on there once we get all the walls in. Anyway, I can walk backwards without falling down. There's the bus right there. We've got the ceiling in. We're excited to be putting stuff together instead of taking stuff apart and drilling out crazy screws and grinding stuff off. It's nice to be able to put stuff together.
Stop!
She thought I was going to fall in the hole. Anyway, there it is, front to back. We're missing these panels right here because I'm waiting for some screws. The little shorter screws I had to permanently attach it, I ran out. So those two wood panels aren't permanently fastened, they're just tacked. So as soon as we get that, we can put these last metal pieces on. Then my next step is to work on these front areas. I've got to make each one of those individual pieces and seam them together, and then the same in the back. And we got a shipment yesterday, or the day before, all the material for the walls. So while I'm on this video, any of you who have an MCI MC9, I found out a little something the other day when I started measuring these wall panels that 2 years in the bus I never noticed before. I'm going to tell you what it is so you're not surprised when you find it. But you'll notice back here how high that piece of metal is off of the floor. About 1.5 inches, 1 3/4 maybe. That's in the back of the bus. If I come down to the front of the bus, you see how wide it is right there? Yeah. The floor in the bus slopes 2 3/4 inches from the back of the bus to the front of the bus. So then I had to wrestle with a few items. One is, I have to put all my cabinets in perpendicular to the ceiling, so they're parallel to the window edges and all of that kind of stuff. And my shower, I'm going to have to shim a little bit so that it's level, also perpendicular to the ceiling. But then when I actually park and level the bus, my floor will still be 2 3/4 inches out of level from front to back. It's about 1% grade. But just so you guys don't get surprised, I put in all of my windows, put in all of my steel, all of that stuff, but all of my dimensions were coming from the ceiling to make this window sill parallel to the top of the window. And then I measured from there down to put my cross rails in. And I never realized what the bus was doing. But another way you can notice it is if you see the width of that foam, or the space between the lowest rail and the first center rail there, is about 5 inches. But if you come to the back of the bus, eight inches. So yeah, just so you guys don't get caught off guard like I did, I think everything's still going. I have all my cabinets made, all my cabinet faces made, and I determined the height of them right here in the center of the bus. So I'm thinking they should work out just fine. I shouldn't have a problem. But just so you guys don't get caught like I did, the floor in the MCI MC9 Crusader is not flat, or it does not parallel the ceiling. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and close out this video of our ceiling. It's pretty much done. We're going to move on to the walls, skin out the rear area, and then we'll start putting finish in from the back of the bus to the front of the bus. Very excited to move on to the next level. I am really making better progress now that I'm done tearing stuff apart. Anyway, subscribe, like, give us any comments you may have. I enjoy all of your videos. I've learned a ton from you guys. Hopefully you can learn at least a little bit from some of the pitfalls I've ran into. Until then, we'll see you next time.